Welcome to Sons of a Gun, a podcast about the DC Universe. I'm a son of a gun. I'm Alex Gunn.
I'm a son of a gun. We're twins.
Yes.
That's why we go through the same things at different times, and that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call us twins necessarily. Our daddy, we have a celebrity daddy, as we like to call him. We can't say who he is for legal reasons, but he kind of thinks of me as like the gruff older twin and you as the rookie twin that I'm training, who maybe is trying to replace me. I guess we'll see. We're going to be talking about Lanterns, episode 2. Oh, we switched.
Face.
Yes, for anybody listening to the audio podcast, we still have this graphic here of Lanterns where it looks like we're Hal and John. It's like a perfect match. It's kind of crazy.
Perfect match.
Yeah,
it's like
match.
jib jab.
It's like Jib Jab.
Remember?
Oh, I do remember. I used to do stuff for Jib Jab. Did you do stuff for Jib Jab?
You did. Definitely made a little bit of money from jib jab.
Yep.
My friends at jib jab.
Yeah,
Put it on the gravestone.
Shout out to our sponsors at Jib Jab. For this episode, if you haven't watched Lanterns episode 2 on HBO or HBO Max, do go check that out right now because we're going to spoil it, but in broad strokes, we have Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. They are in Rushville, Nebraska. A bunch of dead aliens on a football field, and another alien just blew up a good chunk of the sheriff's station. So, of course, they're going to investigate that, right? Well, not exactly. First, John has to head off to Coast City to go get Hal's lantern and also feed his pet, Earl, who is a plant that eats meat. And then he gets captured by a bunch of other aliens who are related to the previous aliens who want him to identify a Manhunter in town. We'll get into exactly what a Manhunter is. It's not Martian Manhunter. Different things, everybody.
Different thing.
Different things. Confusing. DC Universe.
Confusing things.
Confusing. Let's be honest. And then he comes back at the end, links up with Hal, who has been investigating the alien mystery on his own and getting shot by Will Macon, the guy who is probably tied very heavily to the Manhunter, if not the Manhunter himself. He says he has a rich benefactor he is working for. He's NDA'd. There's also the Sheriff, Carrie Kane, who is from Gotham City, which a lot of folks have been talking about over in our Patreon Discord, patreon.com/comicbookclub, if you want to join that feisty little conversation over there. Lots of speculation about that again, I'm sure we'll get into, and other things going on as well, as John figures out how to make a construct without the ring, or at least keep it going without the ring.
Keep it going.
Really impresses everybody. And also at the end of the episode, we get Sinestro, who is a pink old man.
The best kind. I hope I pink up as I age.
Yeah, I was about to make a really inappropriate joke, and I just won't. Instead, let's get into the episode. I think we were both very positive about episode 1. How are you feeling about episode 2, Justin?
Continue to be very positive. I feel like this show is working hard without showing us that it's working hard, which is, I feel like, the highest compliment you can give in the modern TV age. Because we get shows that are like working too hard and it feels like work, or shows where it's just like, oh, they sort of wasted a lot of everyone's time when they made this. And this show is that perfect sweet spot where it feels like there's a lot of plot, the characters are interesting, the mystery keeps boiling in different little pots. You know, you're cooking and different pots are boiling all the time.
Yeah,
that's
I've heard
what
of that.
you want.
I've never actually cooked myself, but I'm somewhat familiar from watching Food Network.
Ah, great. You can almost taste it right through the television screen. Also, the use of the Green Lantern comic book continuity and canon here is really strong. Really strong.
I continue to really like the show as well. I don't even want to say I was down on this episode, but the first episode was such like, it was a clockwork machine. Like everything was working on multiple levels. All of it was intricately working together from the first scene to last. I was really bowled over by the pilot. This was a really good episode of television. And I did get a little bit of like the repilot energy where there was a lot of like restatement of the stakes, restatement of who everybody is, everybody kind of like retelling us the premise and getting each other caught up in things through exposition. It wasn't quite as fluid or multiple things going on in some of the scenes, particularly like in the first half of the episode or so. Then it hit the ground running almost literally in the second half as soon as John gets captured, and we're really off to the races there with everything going on with both him and Hal, which I thought was really well done. But yeah, I was sort of thinking about the whole repilot thing just because, like, for anybody who doesn't know, back in the day, when programs went out on TV and they didn't have reruns, you couldn't stream them or anything. They would have a pilot, and then the second episode, they would basically repilot it. They do the pilot kind of again, restate the premise, restate the characters, have everything go again, because there was a good chance you missed it, but somebody was like, did you check out the Cagney and Lacey show? You should. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, okay, but you turn on the second episode so you'd still know what's going on. And you can't do that with streaming. I know this is a broadcast show, but you can't do that with 8 episodes. You can't do that with streaming. And to their credit, I do want to, even if I felt that a little bit in the first half of the episode, I was watching the after show podcast they do, and the co-writer was talking about the thing, not to jump all the way to the end, but talking about the thing at the end that I thought was such a good move, where John tells Hal about the Manhunters. Like, you're wondering, ooh, is he going to keep this information to himself? Is he not going to share it? Is he not going to tell Hal? Is he going to keep it secret? Is this going to, cause a chasm between them? And instead, he made the much smarter choice, I think, to be like, what do you know about Manhunters? Getting him caught up to speed, because we want to care about these two characters together. And she was saying they debated that really heavily in the writer's room. Like, initially, they were going to drag it out for a while.
Ugh. And I'm so happy they made the choice they made. If I have another reason, too, to say.
Well, and the whole reason was they were like, he doesn't have time. John has 48 hours. He does not have time to hold on to the secret. He needs to tell it now so he can keep going and move the thing forward. And that's really smart. Like, I feel from the writing the impulse to be like, ooh, it's second episode time, and then I appreciate the fact that by the end they ditch that,
Well, and even beyond that, from a character perspective, I love the choice, too, because I thought it rang more true than the plot version of it that you just described, which I think is still very valid and very smart and why they did it. But from a character perspective, John is like, hey, Hal, I'm telling you this, but I need to know more information about how to become a Green Lantern. And he asks him to tell him about Manhunters, the Guardians, everything, because he's like, that's his number one thing. And so to me, I was like, oh, what a perfect trade for him to spill this. It's the right thing to do anyway for the solving the mystery, I think, as well. And he wants to be on the good guy side. And the aliens still technically bad guys, maybe not, as we're getting closer to the end of this.
Closer to the end, we're like 2/8 of the way through.
It's still closer to the end, Alex. It's still closer to the end mystery.
I don't know. I think it keeps going forever. I think this is never going to stop. I'm delighted. We could talk about the aliens in a second, just to talk about what you were saying on John being upfront with Hal. On the other side, I love what Kyle Chandler is doing with Hal, and I love what they're doing with the writing with Hal. I know I said this last episode, but I think they're doing such a good job of making him a jerk, but getting through that he actually is a hero. Like, there could be a turn later on. He could turn out to be the Manhunter. He could be a million different things. Like, clearly there's some secrets, like he turned off his consciousness recording 10 years ago that we still need to go into. But every scene in the episode, at least, is telling me that he's hit hard times. He's sick and tired of the Guardians. He's sick and tired of the stuff that he has to do, but he's still good at being a hero, and he's good at what he does. And he keeps saying, like, I trust my gut, and that's true, but his gut is right. So I love that. Like, I love that move of, it is a very classic detective trope-y thing, but I love that move of, like, oh, he's so annoying, but he's actually really good at his job.
Well, yes, and to your point about, like, he's sick of doing it, but also he can't not do it. He can't finish the training, John's training, because then if he doesn't have the job, he has nothing. As we saw, his house sucks. It's cool, but it's not nice. There's nothing about it that is home. That's like a liminal space from Backrooms.
Let me ask you a question while we're talking about the house. There was one thing that I was really trying to figure out because they lingered on it so much, was the house key outside, where they're like, it's like a potato, but it has a smile, frown if it's upside down. I guess maybe they're talking about Hal, but that was one of those things in this episode where it felt like there were a lot of fun details that I couldn't quite put together as well in my head what it had to do with anything other than it's fun. Earl is another one where I was like, oh, this isn't a plan from DC Comics. It's just Audrey 2, your regular old Audrey 2. And I know, apparently, again, they talked about this on the podcast, and there's been some pictures that have come out. So Earl is going to come back. They're setting it up for something later. But at the same time, I was like, huh, spending a lot of time on this, aren't you?
I predict Earl's going to eat a goon.
Ooh,
Earl eats a goon is my number one. I think we're going to see Earl take a bite out of a goon, and later we're going to see Earl sucking the last little shoe of a goon down.
Okay, like cartoon style?
Cartoon style, yes.
Big old tongue coming out.
Yeah. I thought the key thing that just reminded me of Damon Lindelof on Watchmen, where on his version of Watchmen, where you just have an interesting detail that never really became a major thing. It was just like a thing, it was like an interesting thing that I was like, oh, this is meaningful in the way it's laid out. But I don't know, it felt like just a little curly cue to add to the scene. Earl being used later, but I think Earl helps in this episode when we get to the end and Hal just shoots off into space. I'm like, right, he has fantastical things while at the same time he's doing a real down and dirty my ring ran out of juice investigation in the middle of the Midwest.
And I didn't mind Earl. I liked what Aaron Pierre was doing in the scene. I thought his, when he realizes it's a plant, it's like, hey, man, that was very funny. That just sort of offhand, I'm just chatting with this plant guy over here. That was fun. But yeah, again, it felt like that was more specific setup when a lot of the other scenes are often doing 2-3 things at the same time where they're giving us plot, giving us exposition, setting things up, but also telling us things about John and Hal and sometimes Carrie all at the same time.
Well, I hear you, yes. But the juxtaposition of John in the house, dealing with the highfalutin stuff, him holding the uniform up in the mirror, great character stuff, getting the lantern, which I thought was dope, while Hal stealing a corpse and painstakingly moving it from the slab into his car was just a great, look, it's high, it's low, it's all of this, and this investigation requires both sides of this. Because John's doing a low-fi version of high-stakes superhero stuff, and Hal's doing the opposite. He's stealing a corpse for this investigation, and in the most I can barely lift this thing possible.
Yeah. To get back to the house for a second, because I think there are a couple of interesting details there. One that, I don't know, obviously I haven't read everything about lanterns this week, but one thing that I haven't seen a lot of people talking about that I was surprised about was Hal keeps the lantern in a pocket universe, which is something that has now been mentioned multiple times throughout the DCU. There was pocket universes was the plot of Superman, where Lex Luthor opened a pocket universe and he was unstable, so it split apart Metropolis. We have the quantum unfolding chamber in Peacemaker Season 2, which was stable pocket universes that then they have Sanctuary, the thing that they threw Peacemaker in at the end, spoilers for that. And now we have this, which is 10-ish years before all that, but again, a pocket universe. Why? Why is that here?
I don't know. I think this is the saddest answer possible.
Sure.
I think they're being like, well, this can be our multiverse. This is our thing that we're doing. That's it, because I'm like, this is a weird idea, because it's meaningless. It's a chamber of nothing that anything can come out of. So it's never going to be good in a story, or to repeat it in a story. It's not like they're building a pocket universe. It feels like a buzzword that would compete with the MCU's multiversality.
No, that tracks to me. And I think it's like you're saying, it is this capsule word because it means entirely different things every time we've seen it so far. One of the things I'm actually enjoying about this show is things will set off my Easter egg alarm, but they don't actually mean anything. And I like that. I like the fact that Earl is not secretly a Black Mercy or something like that.
Yes.
He's just Earl, and that's it. And there are some things we could talk about the Carrie Kane of it all, which I'm becoming very suspicious about. That they are going to do one of my least favorite things, which is "My name is not my name." You know, the like at the end of the season, she's going to be like, "Oh, yeah, everybody calls me Carrie Kane, but my first name is Kate." That woman.
Right. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't know that that's going to happen, but I get worried the amount of things, even in 2 episodes, that we're getting about her, that they are building up some sort of mystery, and I don't like that. Let the characters be the characters. Let them be who they are. Like, there's a lot of... I've also seen a lot of speculation, and then I'll shut up and we can talk about more specifics of the episode, but about Will Macon actually being Black Hand, the Green Lantern villain. And I'm like, maybe, or maybe he's a guy named Will Macon who runs a ranch, and that's it.
Well, and the thing is, he has weird energy around him. A lot of characters have energy around them. And Will definitely does. Like, he feels villainous. He feels menacing, even though he's so... Midwestern nice this entire time. That's the vibe I'm getting. Yeah,
I get the vibe too, but I don't get it as like I'm secretly this DC Comics thing that's going to really blow your mind, DC Comics fans, because like I don't get that vibe from the show at all. Like, I only think you need to look at the way they introduced Sinestro, who they set up properly over the episode, like actually giving us the information we need to know before revealing him. And all you need to know about Sinestro is he's a bad guy who, you know, Hal took down, and then we get to see him talking to him. You don't need to know all the DC Comics lore or anything. It's only what's in the episode you need to know.
Shouts to them for setting that up and then doing it in this episode. I couldn't believe we got there that fast. I loved that move at the end. And then when they were talking about it, I also love the way it was established in the episode. Like, who's Sinestro? Why do you keep talking about him? And then the fact that he's a Googleable guy.
Yes.
I thought that was an awesome choice. And that made me think, did they wrap in the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie continuity here? Is that
interesting?
I thought that, and I loved Kyle Chandler's line right after that was like, I don't like to talk about that. And I was like, because that could be, I haven't watched the original Green Lantern in so long, so I don't remember if the plot actually lines up, but I feel like it does.
Sinestro's a good guy throughout the movie. He is Hal's mentor, and it isn't until, if I remember, there's a post-credit scene where he gets the yellow fear ring. Yeah. So... I mean, it still could be. Like, they've talked about him as a mentor and everything. So, yes, potentially, maybe. I don't know. That would be a weird move to make, but it would certainly be a fun one to hint at. I do agree with you, though, that, like, we talked about this last episode as well. The fact that it's a very different take on a public superhero than I think we've ever seen before, where everybody is, they kind of, like, know about it. He's like a celebrity. It's sort of like a sports hero a little bit rather than a Hollywood celebrity. And that's cool. It's an interesting way of doing it.
I agree with you. It's so well done. And then the way that they just shot him into space at the end of that to go to a space prison without any sort of screwing around. It's just like, that's where he's going. That's what happens in this universe. So be cool with it. And I'm like, I am cool with it. I'm so cool with it.
Yeah. And same thing with that. Again, like my comic book brain was going, oh, is that Oa? Which for anybody who doesn't know is the home of the Green Lanterns and the Guardians sometimes. It doesn't matter. And then I was like, oh, are those science cells, which are the prisons that they throw high-end targets in? And again, like, it doesn't matter. It's Sinestro's prison. He's going
by the way, I think they were science cells.
Yes, I do think they were science cells. But yeah, and then you get this great little scenelet at the end where we already have Hal clearly worried about John being needled by the guy that he had to take down that clearly is his father figure because his father died. What is that going to do to him? What further wedge is that going to drive between Hal and John, particularly now that John has taken the step to trust his partner, which is kind of great.
Yeah.
We've been skipping around a lot. I think we talked a bunch about John's plotline. Why don't we talk more about Hal's plotline, since we haven't touched on that too much? What did you think about everything going on in Rushville there?
Well, I mean, I was struck by he keeps sitting in the same seat that
Yeah.
we find him in dead in at the end. And then we're getting, this is like a little bit of the mystery, just to set up. We're getting now, we have aliens that can take different shapes. We have his ring journal conscience thing that can sort of be him. And then now we have a Manhunter that can take on any shape. So I don't know. I was struck by that in that moment. But I do like it.
Just to stay on that for a moment, I've seen a ton of speculation, particularly everybody on TikTok is like, you probably didn't notice the fact that John said there were 14 aliens that could take other people's shapes. And I was like, I did notice that, but they're very confident that that is not Hal Jordan dead at the end of the first episode, that he was replaced somebody, and that is just what we're supposed to think. I'm still convinced it is, because I think... Oh, go ahead. You're probably going to say basically the same thing I'm going to say.
Well, I hear you. Like, it's the creators behind this show are people that I think they're like, if we're going to show him dead, he has to be dead at the end. So, like, that's the biggest reason. If this was another show, I'd be like, there's no way that's the main character dead, because they're going to want to do more of this. But I feel like this show is coming from a different place, and we could get... There's they can write their way out of him being dead by having the conscience become the Hal in the show that comes out of the ring and talks to John or whatever in a further season. So I don't know. I'm just thinking about the way the show's talking about what the possibilities are, and the meta understanding of it is in conflict with me, inside me right now.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, and I think it's just like, it takes away from the emotional impact of seeing Hal dead at the end of the episode, and what's that potentially done to John and Carrie, the two other people are there, and of course the groundskeeper, who was probably very affected by it when he found Hal.
He's like, why do people keep dying here?
Oh, whew, poor guy. I think it just takes away the emotional impact there. Like, I think the actual red herring is you're supposed to be like, aha, that's not Hal who is dead. He is an alien. And I even feel like they will probably at some point flash back to the 2026 timeline and make us think that as well. But ultimately, I still feel pretty bullish about my maybe John Sr. kill.
I love that theory. I've been thinking about that. That's a great one. Here's the only other thing I would throw out on what we're talking about is Hal could be the Manhunter, and that could be the Manhunter that's dead there.
But again, and I'm totally willing to be 100% wrong about this, but I do think this episode doubled down on, for me, that Hal is who Hal says he is, and John is who he says he is, because they are the heart of the show, and their relationship is the heart of the show.
Totally fair.
And I think that's the same reason, like, we had speculated probably before it came on, that they would do the storyline like, ooh, Hal is Parallax, and he turns evil and tries to destroy the world. And I don't think that's it. Like, they are straight up doing True Detective with Green Lantern stuff, and that means these two guys are in it until the end. True Detective Woody Harrelson dies, right? Like, spoilers for True Detective, but if I remember correctly, I think it's Woody Harrelson.
At the end, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I almost feel like they're mirroring it purposefully all the way through there, where, I don't know. We'll see.
And let's remember the name of the show is Lanterns.
Yes.
Like, season 2 can be John and a young artist getting a ring and being too creative.
Well, we do have the other one out
there.
there, which we're going to be getting into, which is Guy Gardner. And again, this goes back to the podcast, but somebody put it in Patreon. I didn't watch the first episode. That Guy is the person with the ring in the 2026 timeline, and there is only one person with the ring. So, how that all links up, I don't exactly know, but yeah, it could totally be Guy and John. I think John is in Man of Tomorrow, the Superman sequel movie. So maybe. I don't know.
The idea of having Guy Gardner in the Guy Gardner from Superman is so dumb. Like,
Yes.
no, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to pull that off. Like we've seen plenty of crazy tone mismatches from
Yeah.
like the MCU, from James Gunn in particular, with how
Yeah.
are they going to fit Guardians of the Galaxy in this? Oh, they did it, cool. But yeah, Guy Gardner and Superman is like, I'm a dumb lunkhead who talks like this,
Yes, it's
and that's not what
very
the show is
Yeah.
at all. But we'll see.
I really thought it was interesting getting back to how, like, he ran the ring down to 5%, and then he's doing the test. Like, that is a little bit like guy at the end of his rope who doesn't care anymore. Like, a little reckless, a little bit. And he, later on in the episode, he gets shot. And he should have known they were going to shoot. It was pretty telling. Like, I love the move in the story. But he should have known that. These people are that way.
Well, I don't know if this is necessarily backed up by the show because we haven't heard him say anything about this yet, but the show is very focused on fear and being afraid, right? So there's a level you could say that, yes, Hal is afraid of being replaced, but he may also, like, be done and kind of want to die, but also
Right.
be scared of the idea of dying. And that might be everything that's going on here. Like, he knows, like you were saying earlier, John is better at it. If John replaces him, he doesn't have anything anymore. He'll basically, like, not that he's that old, but like he'll die of neglect at that point.
Yeah.
Or drink himself to death, run a car.
That early him.
Yeah, exactly. So, but he's probably scared of it too. Like, he's scared
Well,
of the idea of it.
And I'll go back to what I said last episode. One of the interesting themes that I thought was heavy in the pilot, less so in this episode, but hopefully season long. What happens when you're a person who has lived their lives without fear? Like John trained to never have fear from the moment he was a baby. And Hal, someone who's spent his entire life without any of those guardrails. What does that mean for you? And that feels like maybe a superstructure theme that they're dealing with here, and I'm super interested in that. It's like a very postmodern superhero thing, something that I think we know both Tom King and Damon Lindelof are very interested in.
Very interested. And I would argue, though, you can't live a life without fear. Like, and I think the show is probably arguing that as well the entire time, because as much as they say,
I don't know, bro. John Stewart? The way he acts in these first two episodes, this dude doesn't fear.
yes, he doesn't, but I think there's a level of things that he is probably scared about. Like, we have that second scene with Zoe in the diner this episode.
Loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great scene. And it's a great scene that really digs further into, the reason these characters are bonding is because they are people of color who are in a white world, which they're very blatant and very out there about.
The back and forth with when he's telling her about how she's just doing time with Macon, and then she goes, "How's your white man?" I was like, crackling, great comeback.
Yes,
I love that.
And that's a great line from her too, because again, it's something that, like, it's played to the height of the intelligence, where in a lesser show, she would not realize he's actually talking about Hal, but she knows it, throws it back at him. He knows it. And again, it's like that scene with
great.
Will Macon and him last episode, where everybody knows what everybody else is saying, even when they're not saying it out loud. And that just makes it more fun.
Just good writing.
I also feel a little iffy about my Zoe is the benefactor thing, just based on what she says in the scene. Just because she's talking about, like, how Macon, like, kept her, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, provides for her, and that does not make her a benefactor. So I don't know. I don't know who his benefactor is at this point in this episode.
Well, I mean, this is getting a little bit into predictions, but because of the introduction of the Manhunters here, I think the implication that I think will end up being a red herring is that the Manhunter is the benefactor.
Right.
I think that's what we're meant to think in this episode. Clues being that just the way they talk. Mm-hmm. And then the hospital stuff, I feel like, was major clue about that this town is fixed. This town has been repaired by some outside force.
Mm-hmm. The this again goes back to our Patreon Discord where people were talking about the hospital thing. Where do you think the entire town is manhunters? Because I was definitely struck them talking about like the town is on edge, like things are going a little nuts out there, but we don't see anybody, which is a very typical budget thing to be like, town's going crazy. There's just two of us in this room, but town's going crazy right now. But I also feel like, I don't know. We have most of the time when they cut to the town square, there's nobody there. There is nobody at all.
And I'm certain that's intentional.
Yeah.
And I think this episode shows how intentional it is. The town's empty. Every single person is at this town hall. No one's speaking out of turn except for Hal. Mm-hmm. And everyone is like following the rules.
Yeah.
So it feels I was struck by what you're saying and sort of the Twilight Zone nature of this town that I think that's going to be this big mystery. It would make a lot of sense what you said, that it's all manhunters. That would go against the story they sort of created here. But that makes sense with what we know about manhunters from the comics. There's way more than one. There's all of them.
Yes, that does seem like if the character's name is Anton, Antaan, they don't say it out loud for some reason, but Paul Ben Victor, the guy who's interrogating John, if he's being straight up about it, it's not manhunters the way it is in the comics. Like in the comics, for anybody who doesn't know, they are essentially just robots, androids that the Guardians create to police the universe, but they have a very binary view of right and wrong. And so they kind of do the Terminator thing of like, well, let's just eliminate threats. Let's get rid of all of them. So the Guardians shut down the Manhunters program, replaced them by Green Lanterns because sentient beings have a better understanding of nuance. And that causes its own problems because the Guardians kind of suck all the time anyway. Somebody had pointed out to me that in the crossover Millennium, which I don't think I ever read, Manhunters did pretend to be other people on Earth and take their places. So that might be what they're working off of, if you want clues. But this is a long way of coming around to the way that Anton is explaining it. It's more like a singular Manhunter is a planet killer, and that's it. And I think that's probably true. Like, we might get something else here, but that certainly seems to be like, if the show is telling us that, and that guy has no reason to lie about it, I don't know why he wouldn't be telling the truth.
Right. But there was a lot of information withheld there. We got to watch John experience the information, and we don't get it. I'm sure we're going to see that in probably dribs and drabs as we go forward into the season. But that will tell us a lot about what Manhunters actually, what this Manhunter, or in general, what they actually are, I think.
While we're talking about the whole alien group thing, a couple of things that come to mind that I thought were really cool. First of all, I loved the move of having Anton kind of geek out about the ring and be like, oh, I'd love to know how Hal Jordan keeps that construct going so far away. Just the way that he delivered that line, it was like there's menace there, but it really just feels like, oh man, that's so cool. How do you do that?
Yeah, it was cool. Well, and like we haven't talked about when John makes that bird and then Hal takes the ring back, I clocked that immediately. I was like, that's not allowed. You can't do that. And you see Hal clock it too in a way that I thought was cool and not talked about. Like that was some of the most subtle writing and performance.
Yeah, he just does a double take. That's all. He's like, what? And then they move on from there, and he doesn't want to give him a hurrah or anything like that. He doesn't want to give him big ups, but I think that does play on what we were talking about earlier, that deep down he knows that John is probably better at this, even though there are things like he can't fly, and last episode he really screwed up the investigation for both Hal and Carrie that they were running for hours and hours at that point. So John is the trainee, but he has worked his whole life and is better at this thing. In terms of the construct, I don't know if they're specifically doing this, but there was the arc, I think by Philip Kennedy Johnson, friend of the show, where Jon Stewart is able to use his ring to create a construct of his sister who died, who is
I was thinking of that
separate
the whole time.
from the ring. So I don't know. That's a really recent storyline. So I wonder if they're pulling on that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been in comics for a year. year
Okay.
plus. So it could be, and editorially, they probably would have known about it ahead of time. So maybe. But either whether or not it's that same thing, it's more that he gives life to it. And I like the double switch of it where it's like he made this thing. We learn over the course of the episode that it's special. And then when Hal says, hey, is that special? John's like, nope, crush.
Yeah.
And makes it go away. Love that switchback, which we're going to get. John's thing is like he thinks he's the best. And when he's given evidence of it, he hides it. He's like, no, I'm just here. I'm just a guy. And that's interesting. And we get a little bit of John from Sinestro. Tell me about John Stewart. Like, why would he know about that unless something's big about him?
Yeah. And I'll also mention that I think pretty clearly there is something about the bird. If he's like, nope, nothing about the bird, there's no reason.
Yes.
Like, it's definitely his version of Hal saying fly and that causing him to fly. He was thinking about flying and he created a bird, but there's no way that he kept the bird alive that long and then was like, nope, nothing. So there's something there.
The thing I was thinking of is it goes back to what you were saying about the dad. I think it's going to be something, and rather than a sister, because we see his brother, right, in the first episode.
Two brothers, yeah.
Two brothers. I think there's something, maybe instead of a sister, it's a brother who died. It's the dad. It's something there is what I would predict.
Yeah, good theory. One totally random thing I wanted to mention that I thought was really odd. So the name of this episode is Trust Fall. They don't do a trust fall at any point in the episode, and apparently there was a scene at the beginning of the episode, a flashback, and they didn't really describe this on the podcast too much, but a flashback to Hal training John to fall backwards, I believe, off of a waterfall. And then they cut that scene, but they still liked the name Trust Fall for the episode and kept it. And I was like, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But all right.
That is interesting. I don't know exactly how you justify the title now. He trusts John to get his lantern.
I guess.
Important. Shouts to the lantern design while we're talking about it.
Did you like it? Yeah.
I did, yeah. I like how old-fashioned it is.
I like the amount of reverence they gave it in that scene through the music and through John just gently putting it down. And contrasting that with Hal, like, jamming his ring in there, saying the oath as quickly as he possibly can, because
I also love that.
He is completely over this.
Because it's lame. It's not cool. It's not a cool
it's
thing
not
to do.
cool. Can I throw something out at you that came to me unbidden, and I don't know how I can necessarily back it up, but I feel like Green Lantern fans are the Ghostbusters fans of DC Comics. Does that make any sense?
What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
Like, it's a little lame. Like there's a lot of mythology there, but also like there's kind of not a lot of mythology, and it's weird that you're just focusing on this one thing.
I feel like you're shooting strays at Ghostbusters for some reason. I don't know why you're trying to take Ghostbusters down.
I have some thoughts about Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I guess so, man. I've never heard an anti-Ghostbusters take out of anyone, I don't think. Not your thing. Clearly, holy shit. We opened up this is like, this is trouble. This is trouble for you.
How'd you feel about the constructs this episode? Because you were pretty negative about the last episode.
I thought the bird was cool. I liked the bird. And, the dustification of the bird didn't bother me because it felt more poignant there because he was exterminating what we think of as life when he brought the bird to life. So it was nice that it had a little bit of that drama, but it's still not Green Lantern-y, I will say.
Stray observation. I was just thinking about Carrie a little bit. Love Kelly MacDonald on the show. I think she's great. I love the fact that like she is on or ahead where Hal is at all points.
Yes.
As well. That's a good place to put her. Which also definitely implies to me that like maybe she's some sort of investigative bat from Gotham City, but I guess we'll find out. Or she could
deep undercover. She's married and has a kid with.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I really don't want to think like that, but I can't help it.
That's crazy. If at the end she's like, "I'm actually Batwoman." Bye. It's like what?
Flies off. Yeah. What I was actually going to say is I love the slow flirtation between Hal and Carrie. That is great. There's a nice amount of sweet heat going on there, I would say.
Sweet heat.
What's the thing that he says about my husband and I don't have that sort of relationship. What was that line?
Or yeah, it's something about like they're not getting along. Essentially, I don't remember the actual line either.
Yeah. But Hal's reaction there is great. The
Yeah,
moment where they sort of like kind of touch hands a little bit when she's uncuffing him, which could be the I don't know if I should uncuff you, but also a little bit like oops, we're touching hands thing is kind of
yeah,
nice. And I also love the move of her really giving him the whole frustrated speech of I've worked so hard to establish myself in this town, establish the respect, etc. And the way that Kyle Chandler delivers the you're right. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Completely earnestly, no subterfuge, nothing under it, even though he immediately shoots it in the foot right after that by being like, I only heard some of the words you said, and is right
Yeah.
back into it. I just thought that was a great moment as well.
No, I really like their relationship, and it really lets Hal Jordan be so obnoxious during the town hall when she's like, "I'm down to my last 30 seconds," and he's like, "I only need 40." I thought it was just a great, so good. That's just great. The comedy in this show is also legit. When he gets pulled over with four alien corpses, I was like, "This is fucking funny. This is legit."
That's funny, and even little moves like Jason Ritter, who is a very funny guy who's not getting a lot
Yeah.
to do on the show, but him basically sitting on Hal's seat at the town hall meeting, like he's way too close to him the entire time.
Yeah.
Like, hey, maybe you should leave town. What do you think? Also very funny. What do you think about Jason Ritter so far? Because I've definitely seen theories about like it's weird how much time they're giving him and also not giving him. Like, there's not a lot of major characters on this show. So what is his function on the show other than to be an obstacle between Hal and Carrie getting together?
Well, I think eventually it's going to become he might be the benefactor
Yeah.
of everyone. They're doing the Makins are doing. There's a lot of different chess pieces in that family who move very differently, and so I do think there's something there. Yes, it makes sense for with their philosophy, we hate aliens, that the Manhunter would want that and want to be behind them, but I actually like let's play Who's the Manhunter right
Okay.
now. I'm almost certain it's a character we've already met.
Has to be.
So it has to be. So let's take maybe some of the more obvious ones off the board. Will is the dad, right?
William Macon and Billy Macon. So
Billy,
William
yeah.
Macon's the dad. That's Garrett Dillahunt.
William Macon, Manhunter.
Certainly could be. I just think it's weird dialogue for him to be like, my benefactor, I signed an NDA with, and then he's like, and it's me. That just doesn't quite work for me. I
agree.
One little side thing, the amount of times people have used the male gender to refer to the Manhunter or the benefactor, where they're like he constantly, that does make me think it's a woman a little bit. Like just the assumption that it's a man.
Yes, we'll get there in a second. I agree.
Okay.
I don't think he has such I believe in the person in charge energy
100%.
and I'm servicing someone else. Classic like militia leader, I run shit here, but I do service to the person I believe in who's right above me.
Yep.
I'm a gun guy. So not him. Billy, I think he's weird, but he doesn't. That would be the most for the furthest away twist for me. I feel like to make him the Manhunter. I think he might be weird and evil. And he has the potential to be an ongoing villain, perhaps. Like, the Black Hand theory is a little strange, but I sort of like that better than him being the man.
Yeah, I agree with you on Billy, mainly just because we don't know enough about him other than he's a sleazy lawyer in town, and that's pretty much it. Clearly, Carrie and him have a weird relationship, but unless we get more of a focus on him, and maybe he is the Manhunter because they are taking all the focus off him. It's like a classic magician's trick of like, don't look over here. Look at this other thing. Look at this flashy thing so you don't see the thing on this side. But that seems like a lot to go through for a character that we have no real emotional investment yet.
Agree. Zoe. Now, a lot of interesting stuff. She's behaving strangely all the time. She seems to be like working with Will. But is she secretly there to kill?
Yeah, again, I was more convinced she was the benefactor last episode based on what went on. This one, with her finding common ground with John over living as a person of color in America, seems like a weird thing for a Manhunter to do. You know, I don't know. I'm like 50-50 on that one, I would say.
Here, I think she's not the Manhunter.
Okay.
I think she is maybe an alien.
Oh, okay. She's an alien, but not the Manhunter.
Yes, I think she's the alien working with Anton. She feels like the one on the inside who is able to work with them and for them.
Just to back that up, we see her right after her meeting with Anton, so it would totally make sense for Anton's people to send one of their people from the inside to be like, hey, and real quick, we're just going to check in with John and make sure he is on board with the plan and everything.
Yes, that's what I think.
Okay, no, I like that. That makes sense to me.
So then this leaves us with like not as many characters, but you know who I think is the Manhunter?
Who?
Is our small town cop.
You think
Perfect
Carrie's the
place.
Manhunter?
I think Carrie's the Manhunter. Perfect place. Manhunters care about their doing justice. And the line that you said earlier, I've worked so hard to establish myself in this town. Manhunter.
Okay. All right. No, that makes sense. The thing working against that, I would say, is that we do see her in the 2026 timeline, and she embraces John, and she talks about Noah has grown so much and everything, and they find Hal's dead body. So for her to be the Manhunter, everything that we've been told about Manhunters, I think, has to be wrong, which is entirely possible. Like, Anton could be way off on it, but I don't know. The other one, which I think is maybe even a worse guess than Billy, is Noah, the little kid, because that feels like, if we're talking about the Twilight Zone episode, the whole thing is it's a blonde kid who's controlling the entire town, and he's a tiny little blonde kid who just kind of happens to be there. It is the son of two people that seem weirdly mismatched. So I'll throw this out at you. Will works for the Manhunter, who is this tiny little kid, Noah, and he has forced Carrie and Billy to be together and be the parents of Noah, the Manhunter, to work as a front there. What about that?
Could be. That's interesting. I guess we also don't know how they're doing Manhunters from a power set either.
Sure.
So maybe they are more like that. What we learned in this episode is the Manhunter created a genocide.
Right.
That's all we got from about it. So that does feel like mind control potentially.
Yes. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Any other observations from the episode? Other things you want to throw out there?
Great picture of Hal and the Pope. I thought that was funny.
Yes, that was pretty funny.
Again, another good joke. Mogo doesn't socialize.
Good.
I thought that was fun, weird.
It was weird. It was weird because, like I was saying, we don't usually get like a lot of actual Easter eggs from the show.
Yeah.
To throw out Mogo, for anybody who doesn't know is listening, is a planet-sized Green Lantern. Was surprising, but you know, it's funny. It's cool.
And it's crazy to me that we've spent this much time talking about this show, and we didn't talk about the awesome fight in the middle of the episode.
Yes.
That fight was so good. I loved how we got the fight, a little bit of fight before John's taken. The van fight I thought was dope. And then when they kick out, I was like, holy shit, how did they shoot this? They were going fast.
Yes. The director talked about this a little bit. First of all, he directed the first season or maybe more than one season of Slow Horses. So like he's pretty used to spy stuff. But he would not, which was kind of crazy for me, watching this after show podcast where it's like, this should be, you're revealing everything about the show, right? He was like, well, I don't want to give away all my trade secrets. And I was like,
I mean, it's smart. I haven't seen a shot like that. Look, I don't know how they made it look like they were going so fast, because I was like, they would be dead. They would be dead people. Yes, both the characters in the show and the actors who did it.
But he did say that it was like creative cutting. Obviously, when they're in the van and outside the van are two different things that they were able to cut together. The other thing that I thought definitely comes through in the scene, and they were very careful and judicious about, is superpowers, because you get that like one shot of the alien taking a slightly larger than normal leap. And I just
Yes.
thought that was very cool to throw in there, to not have it be like, I'm suddenly the Hulk and ripping cars apart, but you do get this one unreal, weird looking thing.
Yeah, I loved that because you could tell that they're a little more powerful, but they're also in hiding. So they were only being like, I guess we don't really know how powerful they are, but I thought that was well done.
Oh, and the other thing, not to keep throwing out details for this podcast, but another thing about shooting that scene is, I think they mentioned this in the podcast, maybe I read this somewhere else, that they got a stunt double to do the running stuff for Aaron Pierre, but Aaron Pierre is a professional runner before he was an actor, and so they ended up having to redo it with him because he was too fast. So they couldn't get the stunt double to go as fast as Aaron Pierre, so they're like, all right, we'll just do it again.
What a burn from a stunt double
I
perspective.
know.
Roasted.
Yeah, but yes, that action scene was absolutely great. Real quick, let's just talk about the Sinestro thing at the end. How did
Yeah.
you feel about that? I know we were joking about it at the beginning. It's very different from, like, was it Mark Strong plays into the movie? It looks like classic comic book Sinestro. This is like, I'm a pink old man.
I thought it was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved how simple it was. I love how I feel like going into this next episode, is it just going to be a sit down with Sinestro, and then are we going to get him
would love
showing
that.
up at the end? Like I feel like we're going to get an interrogation. They are running this like a cop show, so I feel like it's going to be an interrogation scene we get.
That would be great. Overall, great episode. Another great episode of the show. Let's throw out one prediction for the next episode. What do you think? What do you want to see, Justin?
I mean, they keep. I feel like we're going to get some Jon Stewart stuff. I feel like there's the Sinestro saying, "You tell me what you know about Jon Stewart," makes me think there's more of a mystery here, and a lot of the theories, especially about the dad and the things we've talked about, I feel like there's some stuff to do there. But if Sinestro knows about him, that feels like it's not just, man, they really raised him tough. So it feels a little like, is there a prophecy here? Is there something with the Guardians? There's something, it feels like, bigger, that we're going to get more a superhero-y version of Jon Stewart's origin here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the main thing is what I don't want to see, which is there was a lot of criticism of the first episode of like, oh man, we don't get to see cool Green Lantern stuff. I love how much they're deploying it. Like, I think this is exactly the right amount. They're doing a little bit every episode, a little bit of the mythology. It's only in service of the show. It's not like being like, here you go, eat up, comic book fans. Like, I've eaten up enough. I've read enough Green Lantern comic books. I'm good. I got that over there. So give me the story I want to tell, I want here. And that goes to my very, very dumb Carrie Kate as Batwoman theory, where, like, which isn't even barely a theory. Like, I don't want that. Like, stop it. Don't give me any more information about her time in Gotham or anything like that. Like, I have zero interest in that. Keep it focused on Rushville. Don't be like, oh, Batman's just out of frame. Ooh. Because that'll drive me crazy. This is a little Green Lantern show about John and Hal, and that's where the focus needs to be.
I mean, I just feel like a much more likely version of that theory is that she's Carol Ferris.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I guess.
It's right there.
Yeah, it could be. I don't remember her name, but a crazy thing to throw out there that I thought about when you were talking about her being the Manhunter is there's also a Manhunter in Gotham City who is not one of the robotic Manhunters and is not Martian Manhunter, but an entirely different character called Manhunter in DC Comics.
That would be like, I am the Manhunter. A crime fighter who, listen to me.
It's a little confusing. Same colors on the costume and everything. But I have a staff, and anyway, don't worry. It was a good run. It was Mark Andreyko wrote it.
The guy loved Mark. And I believe in further adventures, they did justify why she looks like a Manhunter and is named Manhunter.
Yes.
Right?
It actually is a great comic book if anybody wants to check it out.
Fantastic comic.
But the thing I want for next episode is don't do that. Don't let that happen.
That would be crazy.
None of that. Anyway, if you'd like to support this podcast and all the podcasts we do, patreon.com/comic book club. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to YouTube coming out. We'd love to chat with you about Manhunter theories, Apple, Spotify, Android, or the app of your choice to subscribe, listen, and follow the show. comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, Dad, are you the Manhunter?
The year of always be my Manhunter, Dad. Happy Father's Day.